When we experience an emotion, we often look for some sort of external source of that emotion. So when a feeling arises, you might ask yourself, what is making me feel this way? And if you can relate to this, that's okay. Like I said, it's pretty normal. But in doing this, you might be overlooking a fundamental truth, which is that emotions are at their core an internal process, and they're shaped by your core beliefs. Your emotions are an invitation to turn inwards and learn something about yourself. When you focus on an external source to blame or to explain your feelings away, you deprive yourself of an important opportunity for insight. If you want to change how you relate to your emotions, the first step is to really understand what emotions actually are. And they consist of three basic components. The first is a physiological change that arises in your body. Next is your appraisal. This is basically the narrative that you build in your head about what the bodily sensation is that you're feeling, what's making it happen. This is where your core beliefs play a fundamental role. And the last component is your behavior. So some sort of behavioral change like a smile or tears, moving towards or away from something. This part is the observable, visible part of emotion. Notice that each of these three components unfolds within you. So you can't necessarily change your physiology, but those last two components, the appraisal or narrative and your behavior, are within your control. You can choose an appraisal or narrative that serves you, and you can choose a behavior that's aligned with how you want to move through the world. So this next week, I'm challenging you to observe the appraisals or the narratives that you build around your felt sense of emotion and take note of what sorts of behaviors those different appraisals lead to. You might be surprised to notice that the same emotion can lead to different behaviors depending on the appraisal that you use. For instance, imagine you're in traffic and someone cuts you off. You might feel some tightening of your hands on the steering wheel, maybe some clenching in your jaw. These might be associated with feelings of frustration or anger. And maybe one appraisal is, oh, that person's such a jerk, like how could they not see me? And that leads you to cut off someone else or maybe snap at someone who calls you on the phone on your drive. Imagine another appraisal. Maybe you have those same bodily cues of frustration or anger, and you remember, oh man, I skipped lunch today. I'm pretty hungry. And that leads you to feeling a sense of compassion for yourself and compassion for the driver and planning out what you're going to eat when you get home so that you can regulate your body. So this is just a silly toy example, but it's intended to show the power of appraisals. The narratives that we tell ourselves about our emotions, and especially our emotions as they arise in our body, really matter. So this week, observe without judgment. Notice the types of appraisals that you make of your feelings and notice what sorts of behaviors those appraisals lead to. And here are a couple of probing questions you can use when you're in observation mode. The first question is, what are the core beliefs underlying your appraisals and narratives? And the second question is, what appraisals lead to behaviors that you are proud of or not proud of? One of my favorite psychologists, Carl Rogers, has a quote, "The curious paradox is that if at first I accept myself as I am, then I can change." Observation without judgment is the most powerful way to not only learn your patterns and build insights about how you move through the world, but then to ultimately change and shift your behaviors to be more in alignment with the self that you really want to be. So happy observing, and share anything you notice in the comments. I'd be curious to hear what sorts of insights arise for you this week.